Welcome to the Blade Lab, or welcome back if you've been before. I have today a quick review / overview of the Merriken Mini Ultimatum, and this is the production version, which is made by Reate. Super cool. I haven't seen a lot about it on YouTube, so I thought, why don't I put something up? The unboxing experience for this was not much of an experience. Basically, this is the box. I opened it up. It's a magnetic clasp, if I can find it. The knife was right in here. No baggie or nothing. No stickers, no cloth. Just that. I don't really care about that personally. Okay, so I wouldn't mind having a sticker. I ain't gonna lie. But let me just show you what we're looking at here. It is, as I said, the Mini Ultimatum, blade grind number 2. Apparently there are other options. It's a titanium, well, you can read this, so just go ahead and read it. The inlay, it's red dark matter carbon fiber. The website lists it as manufactured by Technocarb, which is kind of a high-end maker of carbon fiber for knives. It's sort of the go-to, I think, for Shirogorov and yeah, mainly Shirogorov and maybe some of the CKF knives. I'm not sure. So this was purchased by me from Recon 1, and they are still available. They have obviously this red Technocarb. They also have purple, teal, copper, black, and green Technocarb options. So whatever color you like, they got it. Apparently Mr. Merriken has made some arrangements with different vendors, and I think eKnives had a version that was sort of more upscale. They had, I believe it was full Timascus scales and different options. It's available in a couple other places, but you can search for that yourselves. So this is a design by Kurt Merriken, which is Merriken. I kind of like that. It's he is a custom maker, and this is a manufactured version of a custom knife that he has been producing for a while in different sizes and different handles, and I've seen pictures of them, and I always thought they were super cool, but kind of out of my price range, so I was pretty stoked to see this manufactured version come out. Let's just take a little tour of the outside before we open her up. We covered, I guess, the carbon, clearly. Being Reate, the seams here are seamless. This is, I mean, really just unbelievable precision in their inlay work. A lot of people, I think, have been saying that BESS Tech has sort of come up and matched and maybe even surpassed Reate in terms of manufacturing quality. Well, I would beg to differ. I think Reate is still #1 when it comes to fit and finish. I would almost, I think you could almost sort of compare them to like Mercedes and BMW. Sort of, to me, Mercedes has always been sort of that sort of bank vault, absolute sort of masters of precision engineering and just tightness and solidity, and I think that's Reate. BMW's always been kind of more racy, maybe not quite as up to snuff when it comes to fit and finish, but sort of sexier designs, a little faster. And I think BESS Tech is kind of hitting those marks where they're sort of taking on some really innovative technology, like what is it? The magnetic knives. Blanking on that. Hold on. That's going to drive me crazy if I don't look at it. Yes, it's the the Factor. I believe, almost positive, the Factor is made by BESS Tech and some other sort of fancy knives like that. So there is that. So this is a some sort of oxide PVD coating on the titanium, which is the same for the hardware, which is titanium, and the same for the clip, which is titanium. This is a bolster lock, or a how do you describe it? Inset liner lock, maybe bolster overlay. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's a liner lock with the inlay covering up part of it. So we have this obviously very sort of dramatic jimping up there, almost like a sawtooth blade. I'll talk about that. You might think it would be uncomfortable, but we'll talk about that when we get to ergonomics. Obviously it has a fuller here. It has a front flipper and rear flipper, so it's pretty fidgety. I'd say actually super fidgety. And it has a full titanium backspacer, and I do mean full. The blade centering came perfect out of the box. I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. Obviously super robust tip, very good blade to handle ratio. See, there's not much room left up here. So let's quit dicking around and open her up. Oh my God. So now you see why I was attracted to it. Pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, what do you even call this blade? It's obviously it has a recurve section in the back. It's a compound grind. This whole recurve section is hollow. The belly is flat ground, and so we have the hand rub satin on the hollow part. There's a machine satin, if I can get it to catch the light, on the belly. We have the fuller, which is some sort of bead blasting inside of that. There is the thumb studs, which are, again, as we've said, that PVD oxide coating on them. I've sort of actually nicked it already because I have put my own edge on this, as I always do with a new knife. I know, stupid, but I can't help myself. So let's talk for a second about the specs here. This is not as big as you might think, hence the term, I guess, Mini Ultimatum. I'm sure he's produced a full size that's probably a lot bigger than this. Before I get into the actual numbers, maybe we'll just do a couple size comparisons. So this is the Spyderco PM2 with Flytanium scales. So it's obviously smaller than the PM2 in terms of total length. Blade length, actual sharpened edge, is probably would go to the Merriken. Every time I say Merriken, I always say Merriken. Sorry. A similar sized one to the Mini Ultimatum, I guess, would be the Microtech SOCOM Bravo Mini. That's a pretty good size comparison. We can put it up next to the Arcane Design Praetheon, another quite similar size knife. And lastly, let's do the Grambo Knives Russ EDC, this is the smaller version of the original Russ. Again, pretty close to the same size as the Merriken knife. So since I just got it out, might as well also compare it to the Winter Blade Factor. So that's going to be a little bit smaller than the Mini Ultimatum. All right, so let me give you the exact specs. had a little interruption. Let me give you the exact specs on this. They list the blade length at 3.37 inches. I believe that's probably measuring from back here, from the sort of foremost part of the bolster to the tip is 3¼ inches. The sharpened blade length is 3⅛ inches. The stock thickness, it's a pretty thick boy. It's 4mm stock, which comes to, in this case, 0.154 inches, so hefty. As I mentioned earlier, you can see that it is pretty darn robust up to the tip. And then with that flat grind, it's pretty robust. It's just the word I'm going to use. Okay, so it does not have anything like a sharpening choil. This is kind of a calling card, of Reate. That's one of the few downsides I find to them, is that they don't seem to be able to sort of tighten up the plunge grind, and especially when they're doing hollow grinds. I don't know why that is, but I know that they told one maker who requested it, they just came back and said, we can't do that. So I don't know, it's weird, but you just have to work around it if you want the knife. And I wanted the knife, so here we are. It wasn't that big a deal sharpening it. It's a little tricky sharpening a recurve compared to not a recurve, but it's not really that difficult once you know how to do it. There are videos online explaining how to do it. I believe Outdoors 55 channel just recently did a video on how to sharpen a recurve. I'm almost certain that Neves Knives has also done it. Let me quickly run and get the stones that I used to do the recurve. So yeah, the easiest way to do it is to use stones like these, which I've got from Gritomatic, and these are metallic bonded CBN stones. It's not quite in order. So you can see they're using the F grit rating system, so I would equate the F150 to, it's probably about the same as a standard 150 grit in the Japanese system. However, as you go up the grits, the variance becomes rather dramatic. The F400, I think, is closer to probably a 1000 grit. And the F800 is, I would say, about a 2000 grit. So let's just look at the other side of these. I don't even know why I'm doing this, but yeah, so if I can get this to focus here, yeah, you can see that these are, they're super thin, they're about ½ an inch thick, but they're also somewhat curved. So it really makes it quite easy to get into pretty much any recurve blade. So I highly recommend these, but you don't need them. You can sharpen it on a regular flat stone. You just have to sort of hold the knife at an angle to sort of catch the side of the stone. So that was an unnecessary diversion. Sorry about that. Let's talk about the ergonomics of this knife. So yeah, it's a wild design. Maybe not the most practical design in the world, but not impractical either. I think this is something that you can absolutely EDC. The recurve sort of actually helps when you're doing stuff like cutting cardboard. It sort of pulls the material into the cut. If you go past that and you hit this sort of dramatic belly, then you're going to slide out, but it's not that hard to avoid that. So in the hand, let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah, so one way to hold it is to sort of notch your index finger into that slot there, and that's very comfortable. absolutely no hot spots in that grip. You can also, if I show the bottom of this, you can also choke up and sort of put your index finger just behind the heel of the blade, and put your thumb on this dramatic jimping here, and you will in no way ever slide forward on that blade due to that jimping. So that's also pretty comfortable. It's not, you know, it's what happens when I go up there is that this point on the this choil here sort of hits me right in the middle of my middle finger, which is not it's not a sharp thing. It's not you know, it's not like an ouchie. It's just not something you would want to be applying like sort of massive pressure all day long. But just for normal use, it's perfectly fine. Not a problem at all. This pocket clip is completely flat, so you really barely feel it in the hand. So that is all good. So what about this crazy jimping up here? It's almost like a saw blade. You would think, boy, that's going to be incredibly uncomfortable, but truth is, it's actually not. You know, it's softened a bit. It is this is a kind of a swedge going on it, so that makes it a little narrower, but it's not. It doesn't come to a point on the top, and the tops are, you know, they're flat and they are fairly wide, so you don't. It doesn't really hurt at all. It's comfortable. It's about, you know, as comfortable as, you know, sort of any sort of wider jimping would be. So yeah, that should not be a worry, I would think. Did I mention that these pivot collars are zirconium? They are. So let's talk about deployment for a second. Oh, well, while we're here talking about ergos, let's talk about the lock bar. First of all, the lockup is nice. Let's say about probably 30%. Yeah, so the lock bar access is not sort of lower on the show side to provide access, but for me that has been absolutely no problem because there is sort of chamfering on both sides, so it's very easy to get in and disengage. My preferred method for opening this is probably the reverse flick, and I would use the Fuller. Super smooth action. I should say that I have put skiffs in here, which wasn't really necessary. It's just kind of a thing douchey knife guys do, just because. But the action was perfectly good even before that. But it's maybe a marginally smoother now. So you can also use the thumb stud to open it, and you saw there I kind of missed. To me, I would, if this was my knife, I would have just removed the thumb studs entirely. They are not that satisfying. They're a little bit small, and the placement makes it kind of hard to get it that way. Even with a thumb, it's hard to do it under here. I still prefer to use the Fuller as opposed to the thumb stud. And then on the reverse side, you really don't want to use the thumb stud because it hurts. The detent on this is pretty stiff. Not ridiculous or anything, but it's yeah, it's definitely, no one is going to complain about a light detent on this. We'll just put it that way. Full action, closing action. It's hard to show when the camera is directly on top of the knife, but it's controlled fall shut. I'll call it that. Yeah, so it's like one shake. I don't even, yeah, one shake is all you need, really. Very nice. Really like that. So we also have this rear flipper, which is pretty much, I would say, unfailable because it is so small and it is slightly above the center of the pivot, very slightly, but I guess because it's so close to the pivot too, a ton of torque. So yeah, that works phenomenal. The front flipper is also great. So I mean, really good. One of the better front flippers I have experienced. You can do the reach around. I can't do the top on this, but I generally kind of suck at that anyway. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. This that kind of sums it up. Oh, I will mention briefly. How did I not even mention earlier that the blade steel is MagnaCut? The blade steel is MagnaCut, which I think you can probably see up here. Yeah. The Recon 1 site doesn't list a hardness range for the MagnaCut, but I have it. I use this now very controversial Lieb hardness tester. I do not certify the results. I don't think that they are as reliable as a standard hardness tester, but I think that they tell us something, and I think in my experience it's pretty accurate. You know, it's not going to be official, but anyway, I got a reading of 61.3 for what it's worth. I'm going to do a separate video just about that going forward. It's a pretty interesting subject, and so the benefit of it is that they only cost a couple $100 as opposed to $1,000 and up for a standard Rockwell tester. So now I think I've covered everything. This is still available on Recon 1 site, and I believe they have every option is available. I'm surprised that these are still sitting out there, honestly. I think it's a super cool knife. Yeah, it's on the pricier side, but so is everything these days. You know, once you get beyond sort of the budget realm, I think the price is quite fair for what it is. So you might check it out. I have no affiliation, but I will put a link below for your convenience. Until next time, Blade Lab out.